Welcome to Zolder, ladies and gents, for another exciting round of the NLRL Sunday League. I am Regan Clark and we head to Belgium for our first round here. Circuit Zolder, to be specific, was first founded in 1963 and was for 10 times in its history the home of the Belgian Grand Prix, sharing that label with the infamous Spa-Francorchamps. In the modern day, after many series had come and gone, Zolder corners the market of endurance racing on a smaller, more manageable frame. Don't let that fool you, however. Its 10 turns and just under 2.5 miles of FIA Grade 2 are not to be tangled with haphazardly. It's a tough circuit from anywhere in its roster of races, from the lightweight and nimble TCRs to the high-power NASCAR Euro Series and all the way up to the super heavyweights in the European Truck Racing Championship. Today, however, it is the turn of GT3 to tangle with Zolder. The lap record was set by Nico Muller, the 2021 Zolder DTM round for GT3A, 127.257 behind the wheel of his Audi R8 LMS Evo. We stay on board at the moment with one of the new drivers to join us for round 3 of the championship, Hayden Puttock, in the number 99 Aston Martin, as he begins his run around the track. We'll stay on board with him then as we run through Zolder, and it's 10 varying turns here, down at Erst Corner, here at turn 1, which I am told is a literal translation of the word first. Now through Sturmwachbocht at turn 2, and Kanalbocht, Canal Corner otherwise known as, down at turn 3. Lucy and Bianchi Corner is up next at turn 4 as we bring us down to one of the longest straights of the track, besides our pit straight and the final straight that's going to take us down to one of the infamous chicanes here at Zolder. One of its most unique characteristics here, the Kleiner chicane, to take us uphill and then around the long sweeping left-hander at turn 6 at Butte Corner. Then through Terlemenbocht. This triple set of chicanes is really easy to throw drivers off here. It's going to need an absolute perfect line to go through on conditions such as today. Very nice, bright and sunny, high grip. Plenty in the bookings here for these drivers. Heading down now down to turn 8 for Puttock is Olderberg-Harschfeld-Bocht. That is quite a mouthful. But already a disconnect there sadly takes us away from the perspective of Hayden Puttock. So we'll try and find the next driver heading down to that section of the track. And for the first time here, the number 95, we can pull up here, of Jarek Zelak. Polish driver in the Porsche 911 992, heading now down to turn 8 at Olderberg-Harschfeld-Bocht. Then through Nockenring Corner, here, this very shallow chicane at turn 9, bring us down to the final set of corners here, turn 10 at Jackie X Corner. To round out this lap, I believe this is only the preliminary flying for Zelak. Crosses the line there. It actually sets the third fastest time, so it was actually counting towards his flying lap times here in free practice. That's the third fastest time, a 1:30. Now we are expecting times in and around the range of the sort of low 128 to high 127 mark at the moment. Fastest around the track at this time is a 129.277. That's Martin van Manen, who's now just been superseded by a 129.080 by Wesley Kuiper. Race winner back in round 1 at Misano. Speaking of, let's just pull up that graphic there. Our race winners so far this season, as short as it has been, as we round on to the third round of the championship. Round 1's race winner, of course, is the man on screen, Wesley Kuiper in the 111. Round 2 went to Louis Baptiste. Stay on board then with Kuiper for the time being as we go over the championship standings. Now it's an interesting state of affairs. Of course, Louis Baptiste won out in Silverstone, but having swapped over to McLaren means that his points were deducted by half for swapping vehicles, meaning he doesn't inherit the championship lead, but it puts himself in a very good position for it there as we see Kuiper side by side with Jason Oliver going down into Terlemen. But for the championship lead, it's actually Carmelo Abate that takes the championship lead with 103 points. Right behind him by 4 points off is Christian Lebay. Louis Baptiste, who we saw that race win out of in Silverstone, makes third then with 94 points, 9 points off the championship. Shane Tremblay makes 4th position with 87 points. Wesley Kuiper, the man on screen, is 5th with 81 points. Dylan Herbert 6th with 79 points. Dino Hundur 7th with 78 points. Melvin Milliston, who we've frequently seen at the top step in qualifying, is 8th in this championship after setbacks put him with only 64 points to his name. Dylan Hart with 55 points, rounding out the top 10. Arturas Yogminas with 50 points in the championship. That concludes our top 10. Just saw it out of Kuiper there. No improvement to his overall pace, still sitting at a very, very low 129. That is far from the extent of the times we are yet to see. I have no doubt about that. Having a look around the field, some drivers that we've not had the opportunity to see too much out of. This is the number 5 heading out of Boulderberg Harshveld Bogt at turn 8, now just heading out of Jochen Rindt. Is Yanni van der Beek. In the number 5, racing at home here in Belgium. Van der Beek there, just heading up to the line. Where will we see him place in practice here? Not a lot of time left in it before we get on to qualifying. He's still in P8. Moving back towards that front row then, we'll see what the situation is looking like, as I believe if we look on our maps to the right hand side here, you can see the number 95 is next up to the line. That's Jarek Jelak in the Porsche, number 95 heading to the line now. Will it be an improvement from 6th position? No, it isn't, sadly, this time round. So next towards the line is, I believe, looking there, the 44. See if we can find him there. Jalak gets very sideways. We can't find the 40. Oh, there it is. Down here, one of the new drivers. And this, yeah, if we pull up the data on him, joined last second here for round 3. Scott Milbank, the number 44 McLaren, goes on to set the 7th fastest time, 1.4 seconds off of the current fastest time of free practice. That's set by Wesley Kuiper. Just hitting there in the mid to high 130s, Scott Milbank. And his first outing here in the Sunday League. See here, Ben Cheeseman, who got into a bit of a tangle in Silverstone towards the final laps. Looking for redemption here, currently 14th, but on a track to improve his times. Having a scroll through now, we'll see that's actually an issue further down the line. That's Archie Craven, who's run into some trouble there in the triple 2, facing the wrong way before turn 8. Not sure what has gone on for him there. Also, just to note as well, as we scroll through, Andre Villela has took a sudden shift of vehicles. Normally we're used to seeing him in the Honda, now adopts the Porsche 911 for this round. That means his points will be split down the middle by half. Best he can hope for is half of what he would normally get were he in the Honda. This is Louis Baptiste, just adorning some brand new colours, finally bedding into his performance at McLaren after a very, very strong finish in Silverstone. The driver for NLR is now in the running for that championship lead. Looking back at that again, you can see it's very, very small, the gap. 4 points between Abate and Lebay, and 9 points between Abate and Baptiste. You're looking at 9 points dividing the top 3 here. That is absolutely mega at this stage in the championship. Baptiste crosses the line then for the second fastest time, a 1:28.625. With Wesley Kuiper now pushing it to a 1:28.255. The driver we're waiting to see is currently out on track here, making their way onto a flying lap, and that is Melvin Milliston. No stranger to the top row in any qualifying session. Of course, this is just at the end of free practice. We've still got plenty of time to watch the Swede in action. He's had quite a few rough starts when it comes to races here. Technical problems took him out of Silverstone and dismayed his result in Misano. That was via a drive-through penalty due to some technical infractions incurred on track. It's been a rough road for Milliston, but nonetheless he perseveres from down, I believe, in 8th in the championship at this time being. Will still be in it for the fight of the championship. We're only a third of the way through the Sunday series here in NLRL. We're at record high attendees here. We've got 31 cars in attendance for this race today. That is going to get very, very tight down into our first set of corners. This is by no means a big track, you know. you're looking at just under 2.5 miles and 10 turns, accommodating for 30 cars. Now, we've seen races like the 24 Hours of Zolder accommodate numbers comparable to, if not higher than what we're seeing right now, but this is still by no stretch of the imagination going to be roomy for these drivers. Milliston crosses the line and just puts himself half of a tenth of a second from Kuiper there. 500ths dividing the two at the end of free practice. This is sure to be a very interesting qualifying session coming up. So watch on board then for the first of our drivers to get out of the paddock. We'll just take a look down there. Who is that down at the end of the pits? Looking at it there, it is in fact Melvin Milliston. Stay on board with him then. Right behind him is the Ford Mustang of Martijn van Manen in the 57. Now we get to see him let loose here in the number 68. No pressure at all. He makes his way down through Lucien Bianchi corner. See, really struggling with understeer. This seems to be that front-engined problem. The Aston Martins are struggling with this as well, and as too is the Mustang. You can see already Van Manen having to start accumulating extra heat in his tyres, swerving where he can between 4 and 5. Out of the Kleiner chicane we go now to turn 6. We've seen plenty of good battles here on TRTN, and Zolder is definitely home of some of the most iconic moments for TRTN, and formerly TRR. It is a fantastic venue to race at. It has been a pleasure to come back to this circuit. It's got a lot of good memories here. Now we get to see it under the veil of sort of red-hot, airtight motorsports now in NLRL. We've got a lot of drivers very, very close to each other, both on track and on the charts. This is going to be very, very exciting to watch. So with our baseline time, we're about to see kick off here. Will be Melvin Milliston getting ready for his first of his flying laps. Now we get to see how they do it up in the semi-pro and pro levels. Been a remarkable journey seeing Milliston's performance. We saw it all the way back with, I think it was Sledgehammer Racing back in the days of the GHR XEC, and now has proven himself an individual talent here in the Sunday League. He is a phenomenally fast driver. He's got very good understanding of that BMW, just exactly where he needs to put it on track. It does remind me of the olden days of the TRR Sprint Series. Back in the day when the BMW first dropped, we had drivers come out of the woodwork to show us what for. In this absolutely magnificent machine, you can see leaping over the curbs there to start off this flying lap. Out of the Kleiner chicane we go then, through Butte Corner, turn 6, into the Turleman complex. You see they're able to absolutely storm through those gutters at the start of turn 7. It's bizarre. If you were to look at a map of Zolder, that whole section, so that's, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. All is counted as one, being Turleman box, turn 7. So out of Jochenrindt corner he goes, up towards Jackie Ick's corner to round out this flying lap. This will be our benchmark time, and it's quite a high benchmark to be setting here. The man who is absolutely zero stranger to pole position. We'll see where he ranks up here on his first of his flying laps. Across the line he goes for a 1:28.795 by Melvin Milliston. Let's check our timing charts then. We'll see those times start to roll in thick and fast. 4:13 next across the line, that's James Mason. 1.3 seconds off the beat here. A lot of drivers invalidated next towards the line with a valid time to set. I believe is the number 91 car. That being Shane Tremblay, who's also in the fight for the championships here in the Sunday League. The Canadian driver next towards the line. It actually turns out there's a lot more than I thought when it came to those valid times. We'll stay on board with Tremblay as he crosses the line to put himself 4th fastest alongside Stern Championship rival and fellow Canadian Christian LeBay. Martijn van Manen sets the 2nd fastest time. As actually, as we can see here, something has gone wrong here. Where on earth did that BMW go? So Milliston didn't, as a matter of fact, set a valid time. That has genuinely had me stumped there. Normally, you see those times come up and it was flagged. No, as it turns out, he never set a time. So with the fastest time of the session so far, 1:28.7, is Louis Baptiste, the number 52 McLaren. Carmelo Abate, 2nd fastest at the moment. Martijn van Manen is 3rd fastest, with Harry J on his first race in the Sunday League, putting himself in a very respectable 4th fastest position Christian Lebay rounding out that top 5. So we're imminently awaiting the times then by Milliston as he gets towards the line, and his 3rd fastest. So normally the driver that we see on the top row can almost barely make the podium. He's actually forced out of it. Van Manen crosses the line, relegates him out of it. And Hayden Puttock on his first outing, who we saw just back in free practice, puts himself on the fastest times there, 1:28.521. The number 99 showing over 1:4 on his first outing. This has already been an exciting start with 15 minutes left in it. It can go, and seemingly will go, anyone's way. Harry J puts himself 2nd fastest now. We're only starting to ramp things up. By the end of the pre-race practice, we saw times in and a range of the 1:27.9s, and that was set, as a matter of fact, by Milliston himself. So is it a case where we're just waiting to see if the Swede can warm up to the times that he was setting before the session started, or is the pressure starting to set in for Melvin Milliston? He's heading out of Turleman now. We'll catch up with him towards the end of his lap. But already a very colourful bunch making up that top 3. Hayden Puttock on his first outing, Harry J on his first outing, and Louis Baptiste after his first race win back in Silverstone comprise the top 3. So we'll stay with Milliston, number 68 next to the line here, and he's down in 7th position. It has been a bit of a rough start to qualifying. Can he make up for it on this lap? Gets to the line and puts himself on pole position. There he is. He didn't go anywhere. That's the Melvin Milliston we come to expect. A 1:28.025 puts him on pole position by 4/10 of a second. You're looking just shy of 5/10 of a second to Hayden Puttock, who we now see cross the line. The number 99 brings that down, and as a matter of fact, all the way up to pole, as I believe the BMW's disconnected again. So Milliston running into even more trouble. It's been really hard to keep up to date with that. I'm not sure what's gone on for Milliston. He's disconnected twice now, so it seems, and that's denied him pole position. That's handed it right back into the hands then of Hayden Puttock, who I'm sure is absolutely ecstatic to be seeing pole position on his first race in the Sunday League. The Aston Martin, and I believe one of the only Aston Martins. I think we're looking at 3 in total, 2 of which are the V8. There goes Melvin Milliston rejoining the session back up into pole position. This has been a very odd qualifying session. See, the little bar next to the manufacturer's label on the left-hand side of your screen indicates the ping, and you can see for some drivers, including fellow Swede Noah Haggard, number 24, down in 16th, it is sky-high ping for our Swedish drivers today. That could be a recurring issue. We did have server troubles last week, the week before that. Just see with Wesley Kuiper as he takes a dive into the gravel there. Didn't see the full angle of that. That nearly got very, very hairy for the 111. He's 2/10 off the pace at the moment, but nonetheless puts him on the front row by 2/10 away from Puttock. And now we could see the redemption out of, it's looking fairly slow out of Jackie Xbox at turn 10. Now heading down to the line. Where will Puttock place himself? He's got 4 attempts to make up here. Gets to the line. No improvement. It's been hard to keep track of everyone at once here. We'll try and find our next driver to head to the line, the number 91. That's Shane Tremblay. Heading to the line from 15th position. Where will he place himself as he crosses the line here? 2.1 seconds off pace for the time being. Crosses the line, stays that way. It's been very hard for some of these drivers to make up sizable improvements over the course of qualifying. We've seen that things are getting very, very thin between our top 7. Martin Van Manen just over the second bracket at the midway mark of qualifying now. We've got 11.5 minutes left to go. Louis Baptiste is ahead of him, as to is Harry J, Carmelo Abate, Hayden Puttock and Wesley Kuiper, with our pole position sitter being, of course, Melvin Milliston. Kuiper crosses the line, doesn't make enough ground for pole position just yet. Of course, with how airtight competition appears to be inside that top 3, you could really see anyone claim pole position by the end of this session. Milliston is incredibly close to his benchmark time back in pre-race practice. You're looking in the 1:27s. We're just scratching at that bracket as he crosses the line now. A 1:28.025, getting ever closer. Kuiper's crossed the line for only 2 attempts off. Huttock next towards the line then from just under 5 tenths away. Can he make an improvement up to the front row? Not this time around. It's been very, very tough here, so it seems, for our top 3. So here we can see at the back of the top 5, this is Harry J on his first outing in the Sunday League. Long-time viewers of TRTM will have seen Harry J a few times here, having competed in the Southern Endurance Series, in the NLRL Console Endurance Series, having competed, I believe, once or twice in the TRR Sprint Series, and probably most famously a driver in the TRR F123 Virtual Series. The Mercedes AMG had that infamous rivalry with AlphaTauri's NWR Skylar and Red Bull Racing's Let Joe 7. Nonetheless, crossing the line to start his flying lap. We'll see if we can stay on board with Harry J, who's definitely picked one of the bolder choices of vehicle. But Porsche, it was, in its day, a very successful car. We've seen wielded to great effect throughout many different championships, but in the Sunday League, it's yet to have really proven itself a worthy successor of its namesake. The 992 has really struggled in these conditions, especially with the use of pit skill, balance of performance. It's just never really seemed to have the right set of hands to control it. Could we be proven wrong today then by Harry J, having already put himself in a very respectable 5th position amongst the stern competition of mid and front engined counterparts here? See, just pulling to one side, that's Carmelo Abate, our new championship leader, who's got quite the set of boots to fill today, especially with the competition mounting behind him and on track mounting in front of him. It's going to be a very tough day for the Italian driver to make up for what was a fantastic second round in Silverstone, along with a battle to round things out for that podium position. We'll stay with Harry J, who is bouncing between an improvement and a loss here as he heads out of Jochen Rindt corner. Just under 10 minutes to go. Could we see an improvement there? Sliding out of turn 10 at Jackie Ick's corner. That may have just scrubbed away some of the speed necessary for an improvement on his last lap there to 128.713. So he was just around 8 hundredths of a second from an improvement. That's got a sting there for Harry J. Speaking of Porsches, this is Jarek Jalak, the number 95, just making his way to the line now. Crossing the line from 21st position, sadly with no room of an improvement on this lap. Andre Viella making his way down to the line. Now, we weren't made aware of his move over to Porsche, but he'll be made aware of it when he gets half the points he was expecting on this round. If we pull up the graphic on him, it'll show that he's still, or at least in our bookings, was still supposed to be driving for Honda and was number 927. Now he's 827, so it's all new for Viella. Sets a 131.515, puts himself 27th. Here's another Porsche, Radek Walashevsky in the 276. We saw get his hands full in the opening 2 rounds. Hopefully we can see yet another battle out of Walashevsky. He's spinning off in the background there. I think that was Archie... No, it wasn't. That was Melvin Milliston. For a second there, I thought that was Archie Craven. Archie Craven's on the other end of the track. That was Melvin Milliston. You now see rejoins the track just before turn 6. We're watching now with Dylan Herbert, who himself has found his way into a very respectable position in the championship standings as we scroll through again. As of course we can see Abate leading, Labey second, Baptiste third, Trent Layton fourth, and then in fifth, Wesley Kuiper, then in sixth, I believe is, yes, Dylan Herbert with 79 points. He's only 2 points away from the back of those top 5 positions. So for the British driver and the number 45, he's got quite a way to move here in this round. This is going to be a pivotal round in deciding where his fate is before the halfway mark of the championship, as now we can see a lot of the drivers who were down and out in Silverstone are far from it, heading into Zolder. Following him there, stalking him for the position right behind him in 19th, Gianni van der Beek. Neither of the two, so it seems, crossed the line for sizable position changes on this lap. So it has been a very tough day for a lot of drivers. Melvin Milliston still holds on to the fastest lap, with Wesley Kuiper closely following him on track there in second. Hayden Puttock in third, with Carmelo Abate in fourth. Harry J in fifth position. Louis Baptiste in sixth. Martin van Manen in seventh, with Milbank in 8th position. Charlie Smith in 9th position. He'll be ecstatic after an unfortunate result took him out of the runnings in Silverstone. As he heads towards the line here, will it be an improvement from 9th? Sadly not this time around. James Mason in the AMG goes towards the line here, doesn't make a way up into 9th position. He's in 10th for the time being. Christian LeBay, who we thought we would see higher up the order, has now started to show a little bit of the flaws in his older Aston Martin. That puts him 11th position at the moment. And championship rival Carmelo Abate will be ecstatic having that near 7-car gap between each other. Rayshawn Tinsley, who we saw briefly in Silverstone before an unfortunate accident down at Club Corner, is 12th position. And now that's pushed down to 13th. As Ian McGowan crosses the line on his first race with us today in the number 664 to put himself in 8th position ahead of Milbank. You've just under 5 minutes left to go in this session, and already more and more drama continues to mount here. McGowan pushing his way into the top 10 is going to be in a very comfortable position for that race start. I think the major danger zone is going to be from your 11th position all the way down to, say, 27th position. That back 6 and, well, sorry, back 5 is going to have a much easier time than anyone in that sort of middle pack. These guys are going to be able to ride the wave. So the cars at the back of that 5 positions, you've got Daniel Richards, Piotr Sebastiak, Andrea Viella, Jason Oliver, and Corey Tidman, who is taking a qualifying ban for incidents incurred at Silverstone. It's the first this season that we've seen something like that dished out. Wesley Kuiper taking almost a rallycross line there out of the Kleiner chicane. Following him is Christian LeBay. So a lot of our newcomers inside the top 10. We're back on board now with the number 44. Just heads now down towards Lucien Bianchi corner. It's Scott Milbank. So Scott Milbank, Ian McGowan, Harry J and Hayden Puttick, 4 newcomers in this round, all inside the top 10. Is already an impressive statistic. You can see just how crowded things are getting on track there. That was Oliver, Van Manen, Viella and Milbank all heading through the Kleiner chicane. Milbank now joining the sidelines there alongside Ben Cheeseman to let the incoming tide of cars pass him by. I think we're going to see a repeat of that quite a few times when the blue flags come out later in this 45-minute race yet to come. Charlie Smith as he gets towards the line. He's now outside of that top 10, so eagerly looking for an improvement where one does exist. He's only 2 tenths away from Scott Milbank, so 2 hundredths away from Scott Milbank. So only around 2 minutes left to go. We're accounting for just around 1.5 laps for a lot of these drivers. We're now looking at what is very well their last lap going. Try and catch on board then with the next in line, trying to hunt down pole position. It's Wesley Kuiper. Now, of course, pole position realistically could come from anywhere inside the top 8 positions, from Millerstone all the way down to Van Manen here at the end of quali. But next toward the line is Wesley Kuiper. Heading out of turn 10. A lot of drivers getting the back end loose through turn 10. That's scrubbing a few hundredths of a second off their time. You can see in the case of Kuiper, it wasn't enough for an improvement. He's still in a reluctant P2, but putting himself nonetheless on that front row. It's going to be an interesting start between himself and Millerstone. Millerstone and Kuiper, of course, came nearly together at Silverstone on the race start. And that was the same story with Louis Baptiste, and that was really what sort of spurred on the battle between the three that ultimately resulted with Baptiste surviving Silverstone for that race win. He performed effortlessly compared to Millerstone and Kuiper. We'll see if that gets repeated at all. Of course, Baptiste is all the way down in 6th position. Between him is Harry J, Carmelo Abate and Hayden Puttick. So it could very well be a two-horse race for what were the former championship leaders before Silverstone. Now after Silverstone, we find ourselves in a very new era. Our new championship leader, Carmelo Abate, starts at the back of the second row alongside newcomer Hayden Puttock, and his championship rival Christian Lebay has now made his way back up inside the top 10, but he starts at the back of actually the front of the fourth row of drivers. Everyone's scattered around here, and this could be a very, very exciting round of the championship. Checking here with Kuiper at the end of another lap. Could we see the pole position be stolen from Millerstone? I mean, I highly doubt it at this point, but I've been proven wrong historically before. Crossing the line and puts himself within a tenth, but just not enough there. Millerstone is good enough to start another lap here, but will he continue to force the gap, knowing that pole position is all but secured? We'll find out. Next drivers to head towards the line then, if we check on the map. Very hard to see with how small those numbers are on that mini-map. Millerstone pulls to one side. Contempt with a 1:28.025 realistically should be enough for him at the end of qualifying. The 57 is next towards the line, if we can find them on the board here. That's Martin van Manen. In the Ford, heading down to the line then. From 8th position, can he find an improvement at the end of qualifying? Yes, he can. Relegates Christian Lebay to 8th at the back of that top 4 rows. Very nicely done there by Van Manen at the end of quali. The 664 of Ian McGowan is next towards the line here on his inaugural race in the Sunday League. Another one of our newcomers here in round 3. McGowan to the line. Will he find his way up to P8? Yes, he does. So Christian Lebay forced down 2 positions in that last lap alone. That's going to sting then the Aston Martin. But for Ian McGowan, he's put himself in the top 4 rows here for the race start. That is going to be mighty impressive then for a race start. We'll get a full grid rundown after our airing of the national anthem in a moment's time. But what a qualifying session that has been. Without further ado then, in honour of our hosting event for round 3 of the NLRL Sunday League Championship, is the national anthem of Belgium. Fantastic stuff. So on our grid rundown here, with just under 2 minutes before the race starting formation lap, Melvin Millerstone starts from pole position. Wesley Kuiper on the front row starts to his right-hand side here from second position. Behind him, Hayden Puttock on his first race in the Sunday League makes third position alongside Carmelo Abate in fourth. Louis Baptiste is fifth with Martin van Manen in sixth. Ian McGowan seventh with Christian Lebay in eighth position. Scott Milbank in 9th position with Charlie Smith rounding out the top 10. Noah Haggard in 11th with James Mason in 12th position. Rayshawn Tinsley 13th with Dane JK in 14th. Kyle Jenkins in 15th position ahead of Ben Cheeseman in 16th. Archie Craven in 17th with Shane Tremblay in 18th position. Jarek Jelak in 19th position with Dylan Herbert rounding out the top 20. Wiltenberg in 21st position ahead of Yanni van der Beek in 22nd. Ben Thomas in 23rd with Radek Walashevsky 24th. Mackenzie Burton 25th. Piotr Zabazniak 26th. Arturas Jogminas in 27th. Daniel Richards 28th. Andre Viella 29th. Jason Oliver 30th. Corey Tidman in 31st with a qualifying ban. Harry J, sadly, has had his time deleted, so it seems, and appears to be starting from 32nd position. That has really got to sting then for Harry J. It was a very strong quali session. And his time, due to whatever on earth has gone on, has been deleted, and that's relegated him to the back of a 32-car grid. So then we'll stay on board with our soon-to-be lap starting race leader and pole position sitter, Melvin Milliston, in the number 68 BMW. It takes us away then for the formation lap here in round 3. I suppose whilst we've got the time, we can finally get round to covering the news. So, in World Endurance Championship news, Genesis unveils their hypercar project planned for LMDH and LMH entries in 2026. In automotive news, Renault announces their plans to mass produce their iconic Turbo 3E concept car based on the Renault 5 Turbo 2 from the 1980s. You see a comparison here between the concept car and the planned production car, set to make 500 horsepower to the rear wheels, courtesy of an electric powertrain with a sub 3 second 0 to 60 eyed, and price tags looking in the excess of €100,000. That's set to go on sale for 2026. In the World Rally Raid Championship, Dacia have signed Cristina Gutierrez, Nasser Al-Attiyah and Sebastian Loeb for the 2025 Dakar Rally. They're set to drive the Dacia Sandrider, which had a 1-2 finish at the Rally du Maroc this year. And in World Rally Championship news, Adrian Formeau announces that he will join Hyundai Mobis Shell World Rally Team for 2025. That concludes a very short news session for us here on TRTN, as we want to get back to the action at hand. And as it appears, there may be some connection problems for Hayden Puttock, who was stuttering around there at the start of the session. You can see on the timing charts to our left-hand side, it actually shows that both him and Abate are in the same position. Both are in 4th, which is a very bizarre sight. Of course, wouldn't be an ACC race without the in-game graphics having a bit of a heart attack mid-qualifying and then into the formation lap. So then heading down to Boulderberg-Harschfeldbach to turn 8. Melvin Milliston set to take us away here yet again. Always at the front here, taking us away through every single round of the championship so far. But will it be third time's the charm then to start from pole and win for Melvin Milliston? On a track like this, it's going to be very, very tough indeed. So heading down through turn 10, the Jackie X corner here for the start of round 3 of the NLRL Sunday League as we get towards the line here. 32 cars in all for the third round here, record high numbers. And without further ado, as they line up 2 abreast down towards turn 1, we are green and racing here in Zolder. What a fantastic start by the front row then. Kuiper and Milliston side by side. You can see things already getting quite heavy in the pack behind them. Louis Baptiste moves up to 3rd position there. If we look down through the order, we've already got huge crunch time here. We can see Smith and Tinsley side by side in the middle of absolute maelstrom there. That's Jarek Jelak going into contact with Ben Cheeseman. Further down the line, even more chaos has unfolded. For the most part, bar a few incidents in there, it looked like a fairly stand-up start. Dane JK nearly gets ran into by Archie Craven. Jarek Jelak looks to make this 3 abreast going down into the Kleiner chicane, but cut off there by Dane JK in the Mercedes. Going to the inside though, there goes Jarek Jelak, forces Dane JK to cut the inside. The number 95 there has now moved up into 12th position. Looking further down the line, things are getting a little bit hair-raising there. That's Arturo Jogminas getting turned around by Christian LeBay. And it has been a disastrous start for the Aston Martin, an even worse start for Jogminas in the BMW. Melvin Milliston then takes us away with Wesley Kuiper and Louis Baptiste in 3rd position. Carmelo Abate in 4th, Martin van Man in 5th, James Mason in 6th position. Heading now out through Jochen Rindt down towards the Jackie X corner. Baptiste is incredibly close right now to Wesley Kuiper. Even more trouble seems to have unfolded down at turn 8. We'll have to try and catch what's gone on down there from the perspective of, let's see if we can find him here, the 72 car, Arturas Jogminas with damage. heads towards turn 9. Cannot seem to spot anything there, but things are getting quite nasty in that crunch zone that we saw between sort of P11, so it would seem, all the way down to P27. We can see escaping that, though, for the time being, is the car in 10th position. Charlie Smith running away then from Archie Craven and Jarek Jelak. It looks like he has some damage over the nose of his Ferrari. He's definitely had much better fortune today than he has back at Silverstone, especially down at Stowe Corner, as we head now down towards the Kleiner chicane, chasing the same car he got into tangle with down at Club Corner. That's Ray Sean Tinsley in the bright green BMW ahead of him. See if we can get a view back at what is going on in that front row. But right now we can see, just as we've stumbled across it, a very tense battle in the making here between Christian LeBay and Daniel Richards. Sean Tinsley is actually under quite some attack here by Charlie Smith for the battle of P9. Ahead of him is Scott Milbank. Behind them is Archie Craven. Just quickly stay on board then with Tinsley. The American here under attack by the Brit. See just how much more straight line speed the BMW's got on the Ferrari. We must factor in as well, Charlie Smith does have minor aero damage over that nose after lap 1. So let's see if we can see what's going on in our front 3. Up in those podium positions then, Louis Baptiste is still in close proximity to Wesley Kuiper. Not close enough for a move just yet, but we can see what looks to be a battle brewing in the back of the top 5. Martin van Manen is catching up to Carmelo Abate. Melvin Milliston, though, is absolutely flying away here after 4 minutes. He's just gaining distance. The McLarens can't keep up over the curbs, nor can the Ferrari. The BMW really does seem to be the car to be here. Watch here with Wesley Kuiper, you can see in front of him, that's the BMW of Melvin Milliston. You're watching with a perspective of the slightly more skittish McLarens. We saw really struggle over the Kleiner chicane, struggle even further there. That's Louis Baptiste going off the track, round through Turleman. That's going to put him in the iron sights of Carmelo Abate and Martin van Manen. Even more trouble seems to be kicking off here. Dylan Herbert takes a trip into the grass. I believe that was also Arturas Jogminas. Stay on board with Louis Baptiste in what could very well be a growing battle for P3. You can see side by side behind him, though, and up into 4th is Martin van Manen in the Ford Mustang. They're very well held there by the Mustang. Quite a few yellow flags have been shown here on the opening couple of laps. This is James Mason here, under attack by Ian McGowan. So really, wherever you look, wherever you toss a stone here, there's going to be a battle between at least 2 cars for position. We'll try and catch, though, the battle that we originally had our eyes set on. That was for 5th position, Carmelo Abate versus Martin van Manen. Looks like even more trouble has kicked off down at turn 8. That's the 113 caught up in a tangle with someone. I believe that's the number 5 as well. We'll follow here with Carmelo Abate. Very clear line of sight here for the last of those podium positions. That bright green McLaren of Louis Baptiste and the Mustang in front of him, who's taken a hefty chunk of gravel and grass with him around Turleman box, being Martin van Manen. Carmelo could be eyeing up a position change, and you can see he's putting himself to the inside at Boulderberg Haarspeld box. Do not tire of saying that corner name. Carmelo Abate still hunting down Van Manen as we head down into Jackie X corner here. But you can see very quickly catching the pair of them up is James Mason. We'll have to just quickly cut away. You can see more trouble down the line. This is the 996 of Corey Tidman down at the Turleman Box complex at turn 7. He's run into some modicum of trouble. You can see damage on the front and rear. Will there be the consideration by the 996 to jump into the pits? Well, strategically, is it just not a choice he can make? You can see side by side behind the purple Ferrari here of Piotr Spazniak. There's Dylan Herbert and Ben Cheeseman, and Daniel Richards caught up in the mix of it as well. It's quickly fallen by the wayside. Charlie Smith has now lost Rayshon Tinsley and is now looking to do battle with Archie Craven in the coming laps here at Zolder. Melvin Milliston, though, oh, what has gone on here? We've cut just back to Milliston, who has run all out of shape of his otherwise dominant start to the race. What on earth has gone on there? And it's all gone pear-shaped. Milliston is now out of the race. What has gone on there? He stopped out, and whilst we were watching, he was ran off several times. Milliston is again out of the runnings from pole position. He appears to be cursed at this rate. We thought it would have been third time's the charm. Really isn't. So now inheriting the race lead is Wesley Kuiper. I've no doubt the Dutch fans at home will be rejoicing at this sudden revelation. The 111 now leading by 1.5 seconds to previous race winner Louis Baptiste looks to yet again be a two-horse race in the growing statistic of race winners over the course of this season. Baptiste and Kuiper have shared that title, and that title exclusively between each other up until this point in the championship. 37 minutes left to go. Kuiper leads from Baptiste, and Van Manen makes third position with Carmelo Abate in fourth. Having a look then, after nearly 10 minutes of racing, Melvin Milliston is for the third time going out of this race from the race lead. He had a drive-through in Misano and now 2 disconnects in a row. First in Silverstone and now in Zolder. Wesley Kuiper leads, Louis Baptiste second, Martin Van Manen in third position, Carmelo Abate in fourth, James Mason in fifth in the AMG. Quickly pursuing him is Ian McGowan. Right behind them is Scott Milbank and Rayshon Tinsley, who will quickly catch on with very, very soon here. We'll stay on board with Tinsley whilst we continue our count through the remainder of the standings here after nearly 10 minutes of racing. Charlie Smith's in 9th position. Jarek Shalak rounds out the top 10. Archie Craven in 11th with Dane JK in 12th position. Ben Thomas in 13th with Harry J 14th, having a very, very solid first half to his race here, having started from the last position available down in 32nd position. Puts himself halfway up the grid in less than half the time. Christian Lebay, not Carmelo Abate. Christian Lebay is 15th ahead of Shane Tremblay. Radek Valashevsky's in 17th, Noah Haggard 18th, Andre Villar in 19th with Ben Cheeseman rounding out the top 20. Piotr Zabazniak in 21st, Jason Oliver in 22nd, Daniel Richards 23rd, Dylan Herbert in 24th, Arturo Sogminis in 25th, Wiltenberg in 26th, Corey Tidman in 27th, Mackenzie Burton 28th, Yanni van der Beek 29th, Kyle Jenkins 30th, and Hayden Puttick in the pit lane 31st and potentially out of this race as well. That's already 2 DNFs from inside the top 10. 2 very hopeful drivers going into this race, Hayden Puttick and Melvin Milliston. Seems that his streak of bad luck is nigh unescapable. It's either that battle between Tinsley and Milbank has quickly neutered itself over the course of the last couple of laps. We saw that was Charlie Smith having to cut the first part of the Turleman box. That could net him a drive-through penalty if that becomes a repeat offence. Nonetheless, he's in 9th position. The 2 cars ahead of him there will briefly entangle for the 7th position standing. Ian McGowan and James Mason is the battle to watch then inside the top 10. See if we can catch on board with them. We'll catch on board from the defending car here. James Mason in the number 413 Mercedes. Ian McGowan on his first race challenging here for the back of those top 5 positions. Already a very strong start to his championship entry. In that number 664, the blue and purple, almost pinkish colours of that Ferrari, trailing James Mason's Mercedes here as we head down through Lucien Bianchi-Bot. Now the 212 and the 996 are in the pit lane. I believe that's Corey Tidman potentially out of this race as well. We head through the Kleiner chicane. It's Ferrari v Mercedes. See, leaping over the curbs there. See if we can get a replay on that. Leaping over those curbs was Ian McGowan. Now this is one of those iconic parts of the Kleiner chicane, is those super high curves. We've seen the cars get unsettled by them, take trips into the gravel. You can see that purple and not purple, so that blue and pink Ferrari just hopping over the Kleiner chicane's latter corner there. Carmelo Abate goes side by side with Louis Baptiste. Let's see if we can catch on board with that, as we just caught a very, very good move. Carmelo Abate looking to do battle here with Louis Baptiste. Will catch on board with the now attacking, once defending car of this battle of the last of the podium positions, Louis Baptiste. Race winner in Silverstone, now doing battle with one of the podium sitters in Silverstone. One of the most iconic battles of the season thus far was between Carmelo Abate and Christian Lebay. Now could be looking at a battle between Baptiste and Abate. As we head out of Canal Corner. With damage over his nose, could the chances of fighting back here be quickly slipping out of the hands of Louis Baptiste here with 32 minutes left to go? He's slowing down and is, as a matter of fact, throwing in the towel. He's come to a complete stop there after the Canal Corner. Louis Baptiste has now retired his car to the pits. That's Louis Baptiste out of the race. He was flagging and flagging fast. And that's the end of the line. That's quite bittersweet for most of the drivers here, especially for any of the drivers in the position behind him. James Mason will be ecstatic with that, but it was really quite a sad sight to behold, was a driver who is incredibly strong in this championship throw the towel in so early in the race here. 31 minutes left to go. We've got a very interesting battle on our hands here. 3 cars in the stead of it. Noah Haggard, Shane Tremblay and Radek Walaszewski. Did say we'd get to see a little bit more action out of this one this time round. Radek Walaszewski's got his hands full chasing down Ben Thomas. Right behind them there is Ben Cheeseman. Now we saw Ben Thomas, Walaszewski and Cheeseman all caught up in the mix of it towards the end of the last round at Silverstone last Sunday, but now we get to see them do battle here well before the end of the road here in Zolder. Walaszewski is closing in on Thomas. He can brake much, much later in the Porsche. It's one of its strongest aspects. And that's what makes it such a capable pack fighter. I believe the last time we saw the Porsche used to such extent, such great effect here on TRTM was all the way back in the XEC at the 6 hours of the Nürburgring, the IGF team taking the 911 to great acclaim at the end of what was a very controversial round in both TRTN's broadcast history and endurance racing here on NLRL, formerly GHR. Ben Thomas does have damage over his nose. That'll be to the advantage then of Radek Walaszewski and Noah Haggard, who are very quickly looking to be absolutely level on time. They'll be battling for 14th before they catch Ben Thomas in 13th position. Catch up with them in a moment's time. You see our new race leader, Wesley Kuiper, has settled very comfortably into his new Imperious title here in this race, having 5.8 seconds on the next car behind him, that being Martin van Manen. James Mason has quickly fallen away from Carmelo Abate. Ian McGowan also falling away from James Mason, so things are starting to settle into somewhat of a rhythm here. We've seen most of our sort of red-hot battles kick off and then close out in the opening minutes here. Now with 29.5 minutes left to go. For a lot of these drivers, it's going to be settling into a nice rhythm before we get to the crescendo act towards the end of this race. Carmelo Abate, though, he's still hungry for a position, and he's not going to be letting Van Manen get out of his sights anytime soon. He does have a championship now to defend, leading this championship by only 4 points to the nearest car. He'll be looking to extend the gap by being this far up the field. Will find himself in a very comfortable leading position going into the next round of the championship. We'll stay on board with Carmelo Abate over the course of this lap. We'll be back in just a moment's time. down into the Kleiner chicane then. Things are still pretty much in dead heat between Van Manen and Abate. 7 tenths bouncing at around that 1/8 of a second gap for the most of last lap, and especially coming into this one. Jason Oliver has a drive-through penalty from the back of the field, effectively killing all hope there of position changes by the end of this race. He's going to have to hope for a big incident, but I think the worst is behind us on this race. Watching with Ben Thomas as we check in his rear view mirror, we've got a potential battle here. Noah Haggard versus Ben Cheeseman down into the Kleiner chicane. McLaren and Ferrari side by side, and looking to defend it there. That was Noah Haggard, and oh, that was contact there. I believe that was Dane JK trying to unlap himself from behind Ben Cheeseman. We watch the perspective here. This is Ben Thomas's perspective. 253. Got a very clear view behind him of that battle. You see he's trying to get to the far edge of it, slammed out of the way. Oh boy, that's... from this angle, doesn't look very good. Yanni van der Beek and Jason Oliver in the pit lane. Jason Oliver just exiting now. Yanni van der Beek looks to be out of this race. The number 5 has been in the pits for a considerable amount of time right now. Archie Craven is one of many drivers in the heat of it here. Harry J, however, I must say, has had a phenomenal performance. He started at the back in 32nd position after having his time deleted at the end of qualifying. And he's now up in the top 10. This is a heroic drive from the Porsche. Chasing him at the moment is Archie Craven. We can also see that's more side-by-side problems. That was Jason Oliver colliding with Hayden Puttick there, the 2 lapped cars. And behind them, in 12th position, is Christian LeBay, looking to make his way to the top 10 by the end of this race. He's got 25.5 minutes to do so. Let's see if we can find the onboard then with... well, and as I say that, we've got Wiltenberg v Richards here heading down towards the Kleiner chicane. Wiltenberg to the inside. He's not going to challenge for it. He knows that he's going to be outbroke by the BMW. Daniel Richards still holding on to it here as we head down to turn 6. Richards is not going to be letting go of this, especially against Wiltenberg on his first race. He knows he's got a lot to prove here. Towards the back of the top 20, still in those point scoring positions. Richards is going to take every opportunity he can get here. Evandre Viella 7 seconds up the road ahead of him. He's now just got to focus in the here and now on holding off this position from Wiltenberg, who looks very enthusiastic to try and take it off of him and running deep there into turn 8. It looks like he's just overshot himself. So out of turn 9 goes Wiltenberg, and Richards down to 19th. Rayshawn Tinsley has had a remarkable race after the blunders of Silverstone, and his collision with Charlie Smith took him out of the runnings in a very early show here in the Sunday League. But Tinsley now unaffected by the throes of close quarters racing. He's been able to really stretch out and get himself out into the top 10. He's in 7th right now, chasing down Scott Milbank at the exit of turn 7. Stay on board then with Rayshawn Tinsley. The 114 is now in the pit lane. I believe that being, looking down the order, Ben Cheeseman, who has a stop-go 30-second penalty to serve right now. Wesley Kuiper still leading this race by 8.6 seconds. Martin Van Manen with 7 tenths to the car behind him, Carmelo Abate. We were just watching with Rayshawn Tinsley, who's lost a lot of that time to Scott Milbank. It always seems to be around the 3rd sector where Tinsley loses a huge chunk of time. We saw this concertina effect demonstrated back in Silverstone with a few battles going on there. That is very, very unfortunate for him. He was in a very close, almost striking distance to the McLaren through the 1st and 2nd sector, and he now has to work all the way back up to being in that position yet again. We'll go and have a look around the paddock for the time being. Van Manen here in close proximity to the cars in 3rd and 4th, that being Carmelo Abate and James Mason. Van Manen has got his hands full here on one of his first appearances in the Sunday League. The Mustang up in second position will be holding off the Ferrari and the Mercedes for love nor money here for his front row finish. I think right now it doesn't appear that anyone can stop Wesley Kuiper in his tracks. It's 8.5 seconds up the road from the Mustang, with no signs of stopping. Ben Thomas now in the pit lane, number 253 in 21st, stopping in the pit box. We're now halfway into the race, 22 minutes left to go for the end of round 3. In the times there, fastest of the trio was Van Manen. Mason second fastest. Carmelo Abate lost a lot of time over the course of lap 14. Looks like even more troubles kicked off. We now just quickly cut over to Wiltenberg. We'll keep trying to cut across to whoever is down at turn 7, as Jason Oliver seems to have run into trouble down at turn 7. We're on board with Kyle Jenkins, who's trying to unlap himself from Piotr Zabazniak and hunt down that position. He's now up into 22nd after Jason Oliver takes another trip off-road. Things have gone from bad to worse then for Jason Oliver. Things have gone from good to better for Wesley Kuiper. Now has traffic to encounter, and this is Arturas Jogminas from 20th position. You can see Jason Oliver up the road there, limping out down into turn 8. 664 appears to have run into more trouble down at, I believe that being the start of the Kleiner chicane. That has since cleared itself off. Things are getting a little bit hairy now in the middle of the pack. Harry J in 10th position has got Jarek Zelak and Ian McGowan in his sights. Charlie Smith has moved up a few to 7th position. Stay on board then with Harry J, who has had a very valiant drive from very uncertain odds. The Irish driver has moved heaven and earth for this 10th position, starting from 32nd on the grid, having outlasted half the field and then some to put himself in the battle of a top 10 position. This is for the battle of 9th against Jarek Zelak, Porsche v Porsche, as we head out of the Jackie X corner at turn 10. It could very well be a drag race here. Now front to rear, as going to the outside here at turn 1. Harry J has gone very late on the brakes for it, and Jarek Zelak spins himself out. But what happened there? What happened to Harry J? Is he still in the race? Did we have just a little bit of a stutter there? We need to try and find him on track. Very anxiously awaiting to see what it is. Yes, so Harry J gets out into top 10 positions. He's now up into 9th, I believe it is. He's yet to have updated. Seems that there's been a lot of connection troubles for this round in particular. That seems to be the going theme here as we just tick over. Just under 20 minutes left to go. Harry J now up to 9th, leaping over the curbs there at the Kleiner chicane. Very well-eyed move. Jarek Zelak very nearly took a spin at turn 1. As Harry J went for an ambitious lunge around Erst corner. Looking around the field, Wesley Kuiper still continuing to extend his lead here. Very few people left in it to fight him for that one. As we just caught side by side, we'll try and catch them again. Ian McGowan and Charlie Smith doing battle here, heading down into the Jackie X corner. McGowan looks to be eyeing for the inside, has to fall back in behind. So Charlie Smith has had a fantastic race and is a far cry of what happened for him back in Silverstone. It's really been the redemption day for the young driver in the number 69. He's now up into what I believe is 7th position, relegating McGowan to 8th for the time being. 19 minutes to go. Can Smith hold him off? We'll stay on board with McGowan, who is all over his rear quarter, heading down into Schoenwagbocht. See, trying for the outside, but just being squeezed out of room there. Ian McGowan desperately clutching at straws for a position change here on Smith as we head through Lucien Bianchi corner down towards the Kleiner chicane. Harry J is closing in, and he is closing in fast. This could be one of our absolute belter battles here for the control of P7. Very rare is it we get to see 3 cars in the midst of it, but Harry J seems to be having some really bad connection trouble. That could come back to sting him here if he gets any closer to these two. Ian McGowan caught right up in the mix of it for battle of P7, eyeing up a move on Charlie Smith, who has to cut the Turleman box chicane there. McGowan won't be happy about that one. He'll be complaining to the stewards, I have no doubt. Felt that that move was his and that Smith outbroke himself, but Harry J is right on the back of these three, or these two I should say, to make it three's company as we head down into turn 8. This is looking very exciting now. Charlie Smith versus Ian McGowan and Harry J for control of P7 here in Zolder. Smith was expecting a fight. I don't think he was expecting one this large, as Harry J very nearly gets it to the inside of Ian McGowan. Heading through Jackie X corner, the Porsche practically pushing the Ferrari through, saying, get out of my way. I've got a position to get up into here. I started from 32nd, and I'm not looking to stop now. Going to Erst corner. Harry J runs it very deep on the brakes, but McGowan just gets to slide away from it there. He's 4 tenths ahead now, heading to turn 2. You can see that Charlie Smith definitely had a bad run of things through turn 2, is now out of turn 3 and into turn 4. McGowan is incredibly close. This could get very interesting here as we head down to the Kleiner chicane. Obviously not thinking that there's room for a move just yet. They're all going to file in one by one as they head out of turn 5. That was a huge snap of oversteer. Did you see that there from Ian McGowan? Harry J's going to slot up ahead of him now, moving up into 8th position and very nearly gets the move in on Charlie Smith. Hopefully we've just got enough time to show you that snap of oversteer after the Kleiner chicane as things look to be going from red hot to white hot here between these three. There's a huge snap. As now up into the next position is Harry J. He's up into 8th. McGowan's going to battle him for 8th position, but Harry J's got his sights set on that 7th position ahead of him. So let's see if we can quickly catch them here. This is the perspective of the defending car. Charlie Smith in the number 69 has really got his hands full now. Harry J trying it for the inside there. Oh, very nearly contact between the two of them. This could get very nasty here. These are two drivers that are very close to each other on pace. Charlie Smith's been preparing for this round. He's not let the hardships of Silverstone get him down. He's really rough and ready for this round. But, oh, he's been tapped around the back end by Harry J. Round goes Charlie Smith at turn 3. It's disaster for the number 69. Who is now, I believe, out of this race. That is heartbreaking to see for Charlie Smith. A bitter, bitter end to what was a valiant drive from the number 69. That has got to hurt. Meanwhile as well, Ray-Sean Tinsley's dropped a position to give Harry J 6th now. Now what has been an incredible drive out of Harry J has now been tainted by that knock at turn 3. Nonetheless, it has been incredible from the number 56 to have started 32nd and is right now scratching at a top 5 finish. Really, we don't know which way to look here battle-wise. McGowan and Tinsley look to be the next in the iron sights here, as Harry J is starting to fly away on track here out of turn 10. That was painful to watch. Those two were just so incredibly close to each other. I think most of us were biting our nails expecting that to happen. We just didn't want it to happen so soon, especially after what has been such a grand race out of both of them. That has got to really, really hurt. So our next battle then appears to be brewing for yet again the control of P2. Seems to be absolutely no stranger to this one now. We saw it in Silverstone, and it's double trouble for Carmelo Abate. The now championship leader has got his hands full trying to attack for 2nd position. This time, instead of Christian Lebay in the Aston Martin, he's got Martin van Manen in the 57 Ford Mustang. With 13 minutes left to go, and Kuiper still carving out a sizable lead to the pair of them, these two might be in a world of their own for control of the last of those podium positions. Just thinking back to that impact, that is brutal. Brutal between those two. And look at that, 130 dead out of Van Manen, but faster still was a 129.6. 4 tenths up in that last lap alone for Carmelo Abate. Starting to move and move fast to get up into 2nd. He knows that James Mason is going to continue to claw down time between each other as they stay in each other's dirty air, trying to defend, trying to attack. This en passant of battling between the pair of them is not doing them any favours in the overall standing. as closing in will be Mason. Down at, I think that's just down at the Jackie X corner is the number 99 car that's run into some troubles there as well. See if we can catch on board what has gone on there. Down in, oh, never mind, that's actually at the end of the pit lane. We do have even more problems. The 413, that was James Mason. So James Mason, whom was in that looking for the battle of the podium positions, is now run into trouble. We can find him. This is the worst part about broadcasting on ACC, is the absolute slapdash nature of its driver selection. It doesn't pair them based on their actual position on track. It goes via the order they joined, and when you've got 32 or so drivers competing every round, you get a complete random jumbled order of drivers that's almost indecipherable to navigate without it looking really janky on stream. Nonetheless, James Mason is out of that battle for the podium positions, but not too far down to where it's forfeited his rights to the top 5. Scott Milbank, however, is only 3 seconds away, and with a knock to his confidence, Milbank will find great benefit in Mason's now very cautious drive for the next 11.5 minutes of this race. Shane Tremblay in the midst of it here. He's got lapped cars around him and cars ahead of him. Radek Walashevsky and Noah Haggard not too far up the field here. Actually see if we can catch on board with Haggard at the back of the top 10. Radek Walashevsky in that purple Porsche 911 will be trying to hassle him out of position here towards the end of this race. Stay on board with Haggard as we go through the standing order. Wesley Kuiper continues to lead, with Martin van Manen in close second. You see that was Balashevsky having to cut the Jackie X corner. That's going to really put a spanner in the battle between himself and Haggard at top 10 positions. So Van Manen second, Abate in third. James Mason, who we saw had a bit of trouble down at the Kleiner chicane, is still in 4th position ahead of Scott Milbank. Harry J's up to 6th, Ian McGowan up to 7th, Jarek Jalak up to 8th, Christian Lebay up to 9th, and here on screen Noah Haggard and Radek Walashevsky 10th and 11th. Shane Tremblay in 12th, with Wiltenberg up to 13th position. Very impressive since the last time we saw him. Daniel Richards up to 14th, Piotr Sebastiak 15th, Arturas Yominas in 16th, Rayshawn Tinsley in the pit lane and in 17th position currently. Andre Viella up to 18th, Kyle Jenkins up to 19th, Dane JK at the back of the top 20 with Ben Thomas in 21st. Charlie Smith, who is still on track then, he has made his way back out and is determined to finish this race. He's now down in 22nd position. That is valiant by him there. We really did think that was the end of the road for Charlie Smith, but he has persevered. He's sticking things out here, and in a repaired Ferrari, mind you, but with some very poorly tyres, is adamant to finish here in Zolder. Jason Oliver in 23rd, Ben Cheeseman seemingly have retired from this race. Looking for our next battle then, and things are close, but just not close enough. Now, we saw these two not long ago, Abate v Van Manen, and that's now quickly simmered down here, nearly at 2 seconds of a gap between the Ferrari and the Mustang, with 9 minutes left to go. Having a look around the order, a lot of those battles in the midfield have either erupted into contact or dissipated into these sort of long-distance strategy battles. See, Ben Thomas is close to Wiltenberg. Wiltenberg is even closer to Tremblay, but that understeer is going to get the upper hand of him out of turn 2. That's actually going to allow Ben Thomas almost the opportunity to unlap himself there. Doesn't want to get too eager in these corners, as we saw, very easy to make contact with each other. So out of turn 4. Admittedly, this isn't a battle for position, but it's still enthusiastic driving from Ben Thomas. It's lively enough for us. Harry J and Charlie Smith reunited on track. There is definitely some bad blood between these two after that incident. These two drivers, of course, were having a very strong race between each other. Harry J has still been able to keep going, but I fear what the reaction may be from Charlie Smith. Going down into turn 1, he's actually just going to hold the inside. He's not even going to try for it here. And fair enough. I think he's trying to be the bigger man in the situation. I think most people would be very, very upset in a move like that. But at this stage, Smith's just trying to get to the checkered flag, and fair enough to him. This is Jarek Jelak and Christian Lebay looking to do battle here, so we might actually have something to cover that isn't 1.5 seconds apart from each other at all times. Jarek Zelak then, defending from 8th position against Christian Lebay. Porsche versus Aston Martin going down into the Kleiner chicane here at turn 5. An interesting dynamic to study here, that Porsche dealing with half the available cylinders to the Aston Martin chasing it. Front engine versus rear engine. Old versus new. That's the latest generation of Porsche 911 GT3 race car. Up against the last of its kind, the last of the V12s, the 2013 Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Lebay is all over Gjelak. Seeing a straight line, the Porsche isn't actually too shabby when it comes to top end. The Aston is normally eating every other car alive in the straights here, but here in Zolder, where it's having a much higher downforce setup, it has actually been a very rough day for Christian Lebay. In the last lap, he was 3/10 slower than Jarek Zelak, who takes an almost rallycross line around turn 1, sliding through Erst corner, now through Sturenvac corner. Getting the back end loose again. He's really trying to shift all weight at an instant there, and the Porsche is not too happy with him for doing so. Out of Canal corner and down to Lucien Bianchi corner. Zelak is just trying to keep everything together in that first sector. Lebay is starting to close in, 3/10 of a second. Could he be eyeing up a move into turn 5 now? Very risky, but not impossible. The Porsche looks to be running it a little bit deep there. Lebay's going to follow him through turn 5 though. So nothing gained and nothing lost as we head to turn 6. Into the turn 7 complex of Terlemanbocht. I think for Lebay, he's just waiting for the one opportunity where Gjelak's Porsche just steps a little too far out of line and he can snap him up in a move very quick and very precise. See at the moment, it's a very understeery Aston versus a very oversteery Porsche, and there was almost contact between the two there. Out of turn 8, Lebay is growing impatient. You can see it in the way that he's manoeuvring his car here. He's trying to remain composed in what is growing to be a very interesting battle indeed. Fundamentally, the Porsche is faster, but way, way looser. See, in that last lap, it's to the advantage of Lebay. He was 2/10 faster, courtesy of having made fewer mistakes over the course of the last lap. Could we see this explode into another move here? For Jarek Zelak, defending P8 has been a very tough job, and it's been very taxing on that Porsche. You can see it is battered and its tyres bruised here as we get down through Lucien Bianchi corner. Ever closer than we were the lap before. 2/10 of a second quickly becomes 1/10. I think Gjelak's now putting himself in the middle of the road, trying to defend from Lebay, trying not to repeat his mistakes of the lap before. Gets a very good line through the Kleiner chicane. Ian McGowan appears to have fallen down the line quite hard here. The 664 is in trouble down through turn 7. That's real trouble for Ian McGowan. He was quite some way up the order. Has now fallen down to 7th after an incident down at turn 7. We'll stay on board though with the battle of P8 as it grows to very, very quickly become a closing act here. Jarek Zelak versus Christian Lebay. We quickly take a gander at some of the other battles going on. Actually, hold off for just a moment. There could be something going down into turn 10 here. No, it doesn't appear to be the case for the time being. Zelak v Lebay will continue on into another lap, so it seems. See, it is very, very close now. Gjelak is looking to defend. Lebay was up to the inside there, but had to brake much earlier than the Porsche. He's trying to compromise on his line, force him to run a line that he really, really doesn't want to take. Right now, this is the closest battle on track. The other battle at hand would be Shane Tremblay v Wildenberg. Gjelak is still on the defensive and is running out of options fast here as the tyres continue to press on with that Porsche. The Aston doesn't nearly seem to be struggling as hard for available grip. You can see that through sheer willpower and determination, Jarek Gjelak is forcing that Porsche to stay where it is and stay ahead of that Aston Martin, making himself as wide as possible down into turn 7 and having to cut the chicane there. So Lebey's not going to be happy with that one. And I think it's no doubt a lot of drivers are not super happy when other drivers can get away with cutting the chicane like that. Gelak very nearly taking a trip into the far side tyre barriers there on the exit of Turleman box. Down into turn 8 then. He's made up a lot of that lost time. Lebey is now furious at Gelak to have made time up that quickly. I think the Porsche is starting to show those signs of flagging. It's going to be a very quick decline here for Jarek Gelak as his car is just all over the shop. It's going to allow Christian Lebey to go around the outside. It'll give him the inside down into Erst corner. So Gelak's really going to have to pull something out of the bag here if he wants to regain position down into turn 1. He just can't find it. He's going to try and press on for the remainder of the lap here. We've only 2 minutes left to go. At the moment, Wesley Kuiper is just far and away gone. Christian Lebey's now moved up into 8th position. Could very well reignite his hopes of the championship. That's Rayshawn Tinsley in the background there, having rejoined the track after a very long tenure in the pit lane. I think that basically concludes the little battle we've seen here between Jarek Gelak and Christian Lebey. Lebey has really been patient with that one there. That's further up the field. That there is Charlie Smith, who had a little bit of a run-off at the Kleiner chicane. We're letting Lebey past as they head through turn 6. So having a look around, Carmelo Abate has now closed the gap to Martijn van Manen. This could be interesting towards the end of this race here. Just under 2 minutes left to go. Carmelo Abate in the battle of P2 against Martijn van Manen as we head out of Canal Corner down into turn 4. Very, very close to each other at the time being. Just little snaps of oversteer out of Abate's car. Quickly catch back on board. Horrible menu. In third position then, battling for second, is Carmelo Abate in the number 26 as we close to the end of this race. With 30 seconds left to go, I think there might just be enough time for the race leader to give us one more lap of racing here. And for these two, it'll be one more lap of battling. Carmelo Abate Well, thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast here in the Sunday League here on NLRL and TRTN. Join us next, I believe actually next, it could be next, it might not be next, but join us next round at the Red Bull Ring in Austria for round 4 of the championship. For those tuning in on TRTN, you'll be happy to note that we'll have another broadcast coming up in the week, Wednesday morning, for the AXRL Season 16 finale. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day and take care.